Okay, we're going to do some filtering and sorting of this Excel sheet here as an example of how to filter and sort. And then after we filter and sort, we're going to get some averages of IMDb ratings. So what this is it's about 5,000 rows of data on shows that have been on either Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, or Disney Plus. Some have been on multiple ones. A 1 in a column means that it's on that network. A 0 means it's not. And if we want, for example, the average rating, IMDb rating of shows that are on Netflix, there are several ways we could do that. First of all, it's good to switch it over to a table so we can sort and so on. And all you do to do that is click anywhere in your data. And I'm using the web version of Excel, so the people that are using the desktop version of Excel might find things in a little bit different place. But what we're going to do is convert this over to a table, and both versions of Excel work the same way. Where you click in the table, you insert, click on insert, and you just see the word table. Click on that. Your table has headers such as year, age, and so on. Say OK. And now it makes it a table, and what's good about a table is you can filter. What I mean by that is, let's say we want IMDb ratings that exist. For example, if I go down to filter, you can see an IMDb rating could be 1 all the way up to 9.6, but we don't want the blanks. That's not really critical because when you if you have a blank cell, it doesn't affect the average or anything. But that's just an example of how to filter. And then you may want Netflix values that exist. In other words, they have a value of 1. So I'm going to do filter, and I will take off the 0 and leave Netflix be 1. And then I want just Netflix shows. So I want Hulu's, like there's some shows that are on Netflix and Hulu, or maybe Netflix and Prime Video. So I'm going to I want average IMDb ratings for shows that are just on Netflix. In other words, not on Hulu. So I'm going to filter Hulu and make that value a 0. And I'm going to do the same way with Prime Video and make that one a 0. And I'm going to do the same with Disney and filter that and make it also a 0. And now the only ones showing are Netflix. And I think that was the first one shown anyway. But if I click on anywhere on the table, I can do Control down arrow, and instead of going to 5,000 rows of data, I have 1,638 rows. The top row, let me do Control up arrow so you can see what I'm talking about. The top row is your column totals. So one row of column headings, and the other 1,637 pieces of data are values, actual data values. Now one thing I could do to get an average, and this is really good for finding other types of things like medians or standard deviations and so on, is you can just click the column after you have sorted it to eliminate extra things you don't want. Like we only want Netflix, not Hulu and Prime Video shows. Is get the column that you want. Like for example, just click on column E and then right mouse click and copy that, and then go to your Excel ESP4 sheet. Click right here in the raw data where we can paste in some values and do paste special as text, and give it a second to paste. And it doesn't matter if that IMDb is there or not. It's not numbers, so it's not calculated. If you delete it, it doesn't affect your values here. It might affect this, which is counting up how many groups to put it in or whatever. If you want to delete it, you can, but you can see that the mean is 7.1498. The median is 7.3. If it's a sample of shows, your sample standard deviation would be 1.0807. If it's a population of all shows, which it seems to be, then here's your population standard deviation. Very, very close anyway. So anyway, and you can see that doesn't change if I delete the word IMDb. It didn't change any of these values. So that's my mean. That's really the easiest way to get means of a lot of data. So you sort it and then you copy them and paste it special over into the ESP4 sheet. Now for those that want to do this in the actual sheet that we're working on, then what you can do is use average ifs, and I'll show you how you do that. So we do, in any cell not in the table, we would type equals average, ifs, IFS, okay? Then open the parentheses and it says average range. And let me see if I can get over here some so you can see what I'm doing. So the range that I'm going to take the average of is my IMDb ratings, which is column E. So I'm just going to click up on the top of column E, and that says E to E. So it's going to get all the values in E that are showing when I do the criteria and so on. See, if I do average E to E now, it doesn't realize that you sorted the data, and you get, well, I have to sort it in some way, so I'll show you just the plain old average. Plain old average is 7.11, but that's of all 5,000 rows of data. If I want an average of just Netflix, I have to do equals average ifs, and here we go. The average range is in column E, comma, the criteria that I'm talking about is Netflix, for example. That one, so I clicked in column G because that's where Netflix is. Then column, quote, that has to be a 1. So I want Netflix. I don't want Hulu. So I click on column H, comma, quote, 0. In other words, no Hulus, comma, over here in Prime Video, column I, comma, quote, I want that to be a 0. Make sure you use 0 and not the letter O. And then comma, over here on Disney, which is in column J, comma, quote, 0 again. Close parentheses. And here is, let's see why we're not getting it here. So let's see. Okay, and when we hit enter here, you can see it highlighted in red, and that means there's an error in here. And so if you click in the cell, you can look up here and you can see that the very last 0 that I typed in does not have a quote on it. So I'll do close the quote, hit enter, and yeah, so it was missing this quote right here after the 0, and when I hit enter now, I do get the average that I got back on the Excel sheet. Now we could use the same filtering to get the average for just Hulu. So what I would do is I would go back through, clear the filters right here, clear the filter for Netflix. Let me go ahead and clear all these filters, clear this filter, and I guess that's really enough. And we'll make the Netflix filter it so it's a 0, and we will filter the Hulu so that it, let's do filter and make it a 1. So I tell you what, I'm going to deselect it here 1 second. I think we got it, but I just want to make sure. Filter, looks like it's a 1, so we're good. So now we're just dealing with Hulu. And what I can do is highlight that data. So here's the data for Hulu, and let's take it in Control C and go to the right here. Let me get rid of the old data, and we'll paste special it right into the raw data sheet. Paste special as text, and you can see that the average for Hulu is 6.99, and we could get the same thing over on our Excel sheet by doing the same average if type of statement. Equals average ifs, and the average range again was here the IMDb rating, comma, criteria was that Netflix, which is in column G, comma, was a quote 0, comma, Hulu, column H, was a quote 1, comma, Prime Video, column I, comma, is a quote 0, comma, Disney, comma, quote 0. Close the quote, close the parentheses, and hit enter, and you can see we get the same answer. Now that's harder to do, but you can always highlight it, what you typed in, up in the formula bar, Control C, hit enter, and go to a different cell, Control V, paste it in, and edit it. Like if we wanted not Hulu, so I'll change that 1 to a 0, but I want, let's say, Prime Video, then I'll just change that 0 to a 1. And here's the average for Prime Video. So again, you can copy paste. The nice thing with the copy paste special into the Excel sheet is you get all your statistics. Doing averages is kind of hard here, but doing medians for this stuff is very, very hard. So that's one thing to think about. Also, if you sort and that's the only data you have showing, you know, like we'll do another video on that, then you could highlight and select the cells that you want to get the median of. So I'll save that for the next video. So let's stop this here, but this is really good information that helps you get the averages or statistics for just the data that you want to deal with.